Welcome, guys, to the next episode of the New Athlete Project podcast. Today, we will talk about why it is valuable to train above your 1 rep max on the compound lifts in the gym. Keegan, maybe you want to start by explaining what it's about.
Yeah, so often we think about the forces that we can produce on a bench press, on a squat, as our limit. So you have your idea of like 100% of max being whatever it is for you, 120 kilos, 140 kilos, 100 kilos, whatever it is on your bench press. And you think of that as your 100%, and then you train at percentages of that. But this is a big misunderstanding of what we're really trying to develop in athletes and to be athletic. If we limit ourselves to these ranges in these lifts, we're going to be missing out on so much. Because the instantaneous forces that we get if we're doing clap push-ups or if we fall down, they're going to be higher than the forces that you're dealing with on the bench press, even if you're boxing or something like this. And so we can do the compound lifts with more weight using things like bands and the slingshot, and there's these other tools that help us to train with more weight. We can use partial repetitions. And it's really important that we do this to develop the connective tissues, to develop especially like the white tissue qualities, also for developing the muscles, but also the nervous system and the mind-brain, the mind-body connection, mind-muscle connection. We want to go above. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. So it's mostly about the nervous system. It's like this post-activation potentiation, but also the concept of, like you were talking about, one-arm handstands. When you support like your whole body weight on your joint on one side of the body, it's like gonna help you overhead press, for example.
Yeah. So we can all handle more than 100% of our max if we change the movement slightly. By adding more weight at lockout, by shortening the range of motion, or by doing something like the one-arm handstand, most people who can bench 1.5 times body weight will be able to work on being able to handle the one-arm handstand against the wall, which means you're getting twice body weight in an overhead vertical position. With that, you're going to get development of the white tissue structures inside of the shoulder, the joint capsule and everything that gives the shoulder stability. And the more I think about this stuff, the more I realize it's super important that we have these almost like destabilizing forces and stabilizing forces. So when if you're working on your handstand walking and your one-arm handstand, then you're building this better foundation inside of the joint, but also for the triceps, also for all of those muscles in that area. The post-activation potential is a bit of a different concept around like getting the most out of explosive movements. And so you do like a heavy deadlift, and then you go and jump like 30 seconds or 1 minute after that. Okay. And because you've done something heavy, then when you do something light, you can do more. And it tends to work pretty well as well. Like you can do it with super heavy rack pulls and then deadlifts. I've done it like this where I've had 300 kilos in the hands at the lockout, and then you go and pull a 210, 220 kilo deadlift, and it feels better. I did it with squats once when I bested my squat. I did sets of 20, just small range of motion, like relatively elastic, quarter squats, 180, 190, 200 kilos. My friend was actually squatting that weight, and I was just doing it in between, like just playing with it a little bit. And then I hit a new best on my squat. I was pretty much ready for it, but it does feel nice on the nervous system when you go beyond. Yeah. Fred Hatfield, I think, pioneered this technique with squat walkouts, where you put the weight on your back, walk out, hold it for 5 to 10 seconds, and then walk back in, put it down. All of these kinds of techniques, like that's the same type of concept as the one-arm handstand. You can also do it with instantaneous forces, and I think that that's probably the most neglected thing. When people say, oh, he's a genetic freak, the first time he came into the gym, he was able to, 1.5 times body weight squat. But then you find out his real story, and he's been training athletics, or he's been training parkour, and he's been doing things that have 3, 4, 5, 6 times body weight forces. He's doing long jump. Yeah. Of course he's going to have some strength in the gym. Otherwise he would have exploded doing the long jump. Like there's no way you can do long jump and not have some strength in the squat. Now the caveat will be, other people will say, oh, like I've worked with these volleyball players and they're they can jump super high, but when they full squat, they can't do any weight. That's because they're not used to bracing and they're not used to having the weight on the back. And so they might feel terrible going into the deep squat. They might not, but some of them will.
It's a skill also.
But in the quarter squat, they will be strong. It's not possible that you have a crazy high vertical jump and you can't do exactly that same movement with significant force. Like there's always correlation. And so it works both ways. If you do the extreme force stuff, like landing on one leg from high, jumping on one leg with weights in the hands or off a run up, it's gonna carry over to your gym work and vice versa. And we need that. We want that supra maximal work. Sometimes we see it as cheating. There's some other examples I'll give you as well. But
yeah, I think to make a point, it's like more structural. What you were saying, like the structural adaptation of like doing some.
It's both. Yeah.
Yeah, it's both.
Yeah.
But it's important to know that it's about the range. It's like not doing a bench press with more than you can bench press. It's about being in the lockout with more than you can bench press, or in the like with the one-arm handstand example.
Yeah. So one way that you can use more than 100% is, to summarize, like one way you can use more than 100% is to do it in the shorter range of motion where you're naturally stronger. Another way to use more than 100% is to do it explosively, instantaneously. So the instantaneous forces, if I'm bench pressing just with body weight, but I drop it down, that instantaneous force is gonna be much higher than if I do a slow bench press with 150%. So even though the weight on the bar is the same, if we measure the forces with the physics, the force is gonna be a lot higher. Just like the idea of with these, if I drop one of these kettlebells, if I put the kettlebell on your foot, the 8 kilo, you don't really care. But if I drop it from here, then you have a problem.
I will cry.
If I drop it from up there, then you have to go, back to Germany, reconstructive surgery. It does matter the physics of it. It's not just the weight that you're using. It's how you're using that weight, and it can become more difficult to quantify some of this stuff, and that's why we talk about taking the emphasis off the numbers at some point as well. Like it's good to see our dense numbers keep going up, but also other days or within warm-ups or with other movements, like let's look for those peak instantaneous forces that are much higher than what we get if we just do the normal lifting. Especially like if, of course, we have these athletic goals. We want to be able to do the backflip. We want to be able to land in awkward positions. We want to be able to wrestle. You're going to get these instantaneous forces that are much higher than what you get with your traditional bench, squat, deadlift, or any of your traditional training work in the gym.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about catching a barbell or catching yourself in a certain position in a squat, it's not about like dropping into it. You have to produce the same amount of force that is coming down to stop yourself. And for me, for example, I find it really hard, or I didn't learn it to catch myself in a like mid-range position of a squat. So I cannot produce any force there. So my vertical jump is not that high. So if I would work on, or I'm working on spending a lot of time in the position of like the mid-range, my brain can produce force. I can drop into it. And then I can also, like, the brain is only gonna produce as much force as you can like absorb also. No?
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of the people who've used the ATG system, they get really strong in the bottom, but then in the mid position, they often not that strong. And it's like an overcorrection from maybe in a traditional program, you might find that the guys are really strong in the middle and they have no strength, or they're not comfortable getting to the bottom. And that can lead to degenerative issues and issues with the meniscus and things like this, issues with the hips and back if you can't get all the way to the bottom. But there's also a problem if you're not really strong in the middle and not able to stop in the middle position as well. So we want to be strong in all of the positions, and we want those high instantaneous forces in all of the positions. Another way to look at it and another way to apply this is, for example, if I was going to do heavy box squats and I'm standing up and I drop, and just before I hit the box, I try to stop. So I'm like maybe halfway between hitting the box and the top position. I've free fallen for the first half of the movement, and then in the next half of the movement, I'm trying to stop myself before I hit the box, but I won't actually be able to stop. So it's like super maximal eccentric. So I'm going above the maximum force that I can handle and trying to stop it. This kind of work is going to make you much more athletic, and it's aggressive and it's not necessarily where a beginner is going to start.
Yeah.
But if you look at some of the craziest things that are happening on Instagram, which is basically the craziest things that are happening in the athletic world, it is with these kinds of forces. There's a channel that has 1 million followers that the guy, he does really heavy bench presses and he does them with like a slingshot type of a thing on. And then he does heavy squats and he actually lowers himself down and then he spins the bar on his back. He helps with one arm. So he's doing like eccentric, normal, and then supported isometric. And then he pushes on both of his legs to come back up. So it's like an assisted concentric. But if you don't look at the physics of it, he tells you what weight's on the bar. And he's talking about what weight is on the bar because that's what's interesting. Sure, he can do a lot of weight with clean as well, but a lot of his stuff is like doing it in this way, which is playing with forces over 100%. Maybe we can slice in some footage of these kind of special repetitions. It was why Louis Simmons was using the bands. The bands, it's the same thing of like with the kettlebell, if I drop it from here, okay, but if I drop it from here with a slingshot, firing it at the floor with the bands, even it's more as well. So yeah, the physics of elastic forces is why people use them for jumping as well. It's not the same as just dropping from higher. It's that rate of acceleration, the momentum that's going into it. So
maybe you can give an example of like what, like for example with the bench press.
Yep.
We did the, what was it? Quarter,
half,
2/3, and full.
Yep.
It's like experiencing this. I was doing it with 40 kilos and it was extremely challenging for me. It's like doing it and catching the bar in every position.
Yep.
I think it is a good way for people to experience what you mean.
Yep. Yeah, I think that the simplest way is probably just with push-ups and bodyweight squats.
Yeah.
Of just like drop a little bit and stop, drop halfway and stop, drop 3/4 of the way and stop. And you'll notice that you have to really switch on the nervous system and the brain.
Yeah.
You could put a band on the back and do the same thing, stop in those positions. Same thing with a squat or a lunge. Like it's easy to test it with body weight. And if you're like, yeah, this is too hard for me, that's fine. Like hold on to something, go a bit slower. There's no problem with any of the regressions either. The thing is like for me and for a lot of people who've trained in the gym for a while, you get this ego thing of like, well, I'm pretty strong, and therefore if I want to do this elastic stuff, I want to do it as hard as I can, as heavy as I can. And you can do it, but if the tissues aren't ready for it, then you're going to get soreness. So I would encourage people to think about it more as an endurance thing to start with. Start with lighter weights, do higher repetitions. I started with just the barbell and the drop catch stuff. And it feels really nice just to be throwing the barbell and just to be really dominating it, rather than it's possible that you're getting stronger and stronger, but you feel like worse and worse with the lighter weight and going fast. So you can even produce more force with an empty bar than what you can with your 1RM max. By pulling it down and pushing it back up, the forces can actually be
or even throwing
higher.
it up.
Yeah, if you were to throw it up, like I wouldn't recommend like throwing it up super high. But yeah, the physics of it is like that, and those instantaneous forces are important. They are valuable, especially for athletes, but they're good for the nervous system. They're good for the connective tissues. So yeah, if you want to understand and you want to be trained like this, and you want to be trained alongside others who are using these principles to become new athletes, not just on the force side like we're talking about today, but with the skills, you can come to a camp and learn, study, train together. If you go to newathleteproject.com/camp or check out in the description, that's the easiest way to come to a camp where you can find out more information about what we're doing with New Athlete. Lukas made the decision to get involved maybe 2 years ago. Since then, he's developed various athletic abilities. And now he's here in Bali having this experience with us. Maybe you'll hear more about his story in another one, but highly recommend using these 100% plus force loading and understanding this concept. You're going to have to be somewhat intuitive about staying safe and using lighter loads to begin with, but you're going to get so much out of this, and it's really a lesson I wish I understood much earlier. Took the ego out of it, do the fast stuff without having to hit a super impressive number, and yeah, this is a great way to improve.
Well, I would say that's it for today. See you in the next one.
See you in the
Make
next one.
sure to check the description. We have all the links towards New Athlete Project, the website, and where you can find every information you need. Do you have anything else to say? Make sure to subscribe, hit the bell, and leave a thumbs up.